Hello, this is lesson 2.3, subtracting rational numbers. So please make sure you have this handout. Again, if you don't have it, it's always on my class website where you found this video. You can download it and print one out. And please make sure you have two colors before we begin. I'm going to be using a blue and a red. So when we're subtracting rational numbers, we are going to first start again with reviewing the rules for subtracting integers. So at the top here, we're going to write change the subtraction to add the opposite. Right, then follow the rules for adding. So don't forget, we can think of it as KCC, keep, change, change, anytime you see subtraction. So let's look at number one. So number one, if we were to do that, keep, change, change to this one, okay, our problem would become 7 plus negative 6. And then 7 plus negative 6 is 1. And that's our answer. I said I was going to use blue, but apparently I'm using black. Sorry about that. Okay, on the next one, negative 8 minus 11. If we change it to an addition problem, our addition problem is going to say negative 8 plus negative 11. Okay, and negative 8 plus negative 11, we're going to add them together and keep the sign. So it's negative 19. Okay, and then here, for this one here, when we have 8 minus negative 17, we're going to write KCC at the top. And now our expression is going to become 8 plus positive 17. So our answer is 25. And then for the last one here, negative 9 minus negative 14, we write keep, change, change. So then it's going to become, our problem is going to become negative 9 plus positive 14. And here we subtract because they're opposite signs, and we take the sign of the bigger absolute value. So our answer is 5. So now let's take a look at the next section where we're going to be subtracting decimals. And if you're thinking, are we going to write the same things in the blanks? You are correct. Okay. So at the top, it's going to say you change the subtraction to add the opposite, then follow the rules for adding. So again, we're going to do keep, change, change when we see subtraction. Okay. So for the first problem here, 4.5 minus 6.3, we're going to do keep, change, change. So we keep the first decimal, change the subtraction to addition, and then take the opposite of the second number. Okay, so now we have different signs. That means we subtract. Okay, so we're going to subtract here. And then our answer is going to be 1.8, and then it'll be negative because our bigger absolute value is negative. Okay. And now let's take a look at the next one. For the next one, we're going to also do keep, change, change because it's subtraction. All right, so then our new expression is going to be negative 2.9 plus, and then negative 1.6. Okay, now these are the same signs. If they're the same, we now add them because they're both negatives. So here we're going to have 15, and then we're going to have 4. So that's 4.5, but it's going to stay negative because we have two negative decimals. Okay, for the third one down here, let's go ahead and write in red again, keep, change, change. All right, so then we're going to write here for our new expression, negative 2.5, then plus, and then negative 6.5 is going to be positive. All right, now they're different signs, so we're going to subtract. And we always put the bigger decimal on top. So here we're going to have 5 minus 5 is 0, and it's going to be 4.0. And we can leave it at 4 or 4.0. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at 4. It's positive because our bigger absolute value is positive. And last but not least, okay, we're going to do keep. Oops. keep, change, change. Okay, so now our expression is we're gonna keep the first one, 8.2, change subtraction to addition, and then change the negative 1.9 to positive 1.9. And now look, they're the same signs. So what do? We add these two, okay, because they're the same signs. So 2 plus 9 is 11, carry the 1, and then we get a 10, 10.1. So our answer is going to be positive 10.1. And we box our answer. Okay, now we're going to subtracting like fractions on the bottom left. And guess what? It's the same saying on the top. You're going to change the subtraction to add the opposite. Then follow the rules for adding. So they have to have the same denominator, okay, but we're going to do keep, change, change. Let's write that. So we have KCC. All right, and then we're going to do that for the first fraction. We're going to keep, change, change. So now here, we're going to keep the first one. Okay, so keep it, 3/5 plus, and then negative 4/5. Okay, now they have the same denominator. Excellent. We keep it all over 5. The numerators are going to be 3 plus negative 4. And then 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. And we keep the denominator. And so this is our answer, negative 1/5. Okay, let's take a look at the second one. On the second one, there's a mixed number. You know what to do. You make it an improper fraction. So we're going to write this as negative 3/4, okay, minus, and then 1 1/4 is 5/4. Okay, now from here, we're going to do keep, change, change. So we're going to write this as negative 3/4 plus negative 5/4. Okay, they have the same denominator, so we can write it all over 4. Negative 3 plus negative 5. Okay, and then that is going to equal negative 8/4. And then that reduces 8/4 is going to divide into negative 2. And we box our answer. Okay, and then on the next one, it's subtraction. So again, we have to do our keep, change, change. Okay, you keep the first fraction. Okay, and then we change the minus to a plus, and then the negative 1/3 to a positive. Now they have the same denominator, so it's 3. And then we go ahead and combine the numerators, and that's going to be negative 1/3. And that's our fraction in simplest form. Okay, and then the last one, okay, we're almost done here. We're going to do keep, change, change. Okay, and then you're going to keep the first fraction, 7/8. Change this to a plus. Change the negative 3/8 to a positive. They have the same denominator, so we're going to combine the numerators. Okay, we get 10/8. And then from here, we can divide both of those by 2. So now our fraction is going to become 5/6. No, it's not. 5/4. And then this is simplest form. Okay, so ready for the last section? Because we're almost done. We're going to be subtracting unlike fractions. All right, at the top, it should say you're going to change the subtraction to add the opposite. Then follow the rules for adding. Again, KCC applies. All right, so we want to do that first. So I like to write that at the top, KCC. All right, now our new problem is going to be negative 1/6. We're going to keep that. All right, and then we change this to a plus, and then the 2/3 becomes a negative 2/3. All right, now we have to find a common denominator. They're not the same denominator. So we look at 6. 3 goes into 6, so that's going to be our common denominator. So we're going to write here a 6 and a 6. Okay, so now the first numerator is going to stay the same because it already had a 6 in the denominator. We don't change this. It already has a 6. It's perfect. This one we need to change. The 3 to make it a 6, we're going to have to multiply it by 2. And then we do the same thing to the numerator. We multiply it by 2. So negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Okay, now we can combine the numerators. So we're going to combine them. Negative 1 plus negative 4. Okay, so they're the same signs. So that means it's going to be negative 5 over 6. And that is our simplest form. Okay, let's look at the next one. On the next one, always start with KCC. Anytime you see subtraction, keep, change, change. Okay, so now here, we're going to keep the first fraction, 5/8, then make it plus. And the second fraction, negative 3/4. Okay, so now we have to find a common denominator. Okay, and 4 goes into 8 evenly, so we're going to make 8 our denominator. The first fraction's going to stay at 5/8 because 8 was already in the denominator. So now the 4, we're going to make that an 8 by multiplying it by 2. Okay, so now our numerator is going to be negative 3 times 2, and that's negative 6. Now look, we have a common denominator. Perfect. Now we can combine our numerators. Okay, 5 plus negative 6, that's going to equal negative 1. And then we put it over 8. And this is our simplest form, negative 1/8. Okay, last one. We have a mixed number. So what we're going to do first, actually, let's do keep, change, change first. Let's first do that so we don't forget. Okay, so keep, change, change. So our problem is going to be 3/12, okay, plus, and then positive 1 2/3. Okay, so here it is. All right, now we can make it in the mixed number in improper fraction. So that's going to be 5/3. Okay, we need a common denominator. So here, I'm going to put it over here because I'm going to run out of room. Our common denominator is going to be 12. So let's put here 12. Okay, for each denominator. The first fraction happens to be the right denominator, so we leave the numerator the same, 3/12. But for the second fraction, the 3, to make it a 12, we times it by 4. And so then 5 times 4 is 20. All right, and now look, we have the right denominator, or we have the same denominator. We put the numerators all over 12. Okay, and then we can add 3 plus 20, that's 23 over 12. And that's simplest form. It can't be simplified. So we box our answer. And that's all for your notes. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.